Here begins the quaith about Helgi Hundingsbane and Huthbrod's men. 'Twas early in the Wereld, when eagles yelled, holy waters flowed down from heaven fell. Then was Helgi the stout-minded born to Berghild in Braland. Night came on in the town, Norns came, those who shaped the atheling's lifetime. They boded him to become a most famous king, and to be thought the best of budlings. They twisted the strand of his forelay with force, when bulwarks broke in Braland. They ravelled up the golden thread, and fixed it under the middle of the moon hall. They hid the ends in the east and west. The royal house owned the land in between there. Neri's niece braided one of its moorings in the northways, and bade it hold forever. One thing worked towards the Wilfing's father's anguish, and that of the maid who had fed the lad. Quoth a raven to a raven, sitting on a high bough in want of food,
"I've a nugget of wit. Sigmund's son will stand in a byrnie. He is 1 day old now that day is come, yet his eyes are whetted like a war chief's. He is a friend to wolves, we two shall be glad."
The people thought him to be a dayling. 'Twas said among men a good year was come. The king himself left the thunder of battle behind to bring the young lord an eater-leek. He gave him the name Helgi, and Ringstead, Sunfell, Snowfell, and Sigerswold, Ringstay, Hightown, and Heavenwong. A sword he fitted out for Fitila's brother. Then the eater-born elm began to wax in his friends' hearts, a beacon of win. He paid and gave gold to the king's men. The blood-wrecked prince spared not the horde. The leader did not wait long to fight. When the king was 15 winters old, he caused the hardy Hunding to be slain, who had long ruled over lands and thanes. Afterwards Hunding's sons called on Sigmund's son for wealth and rings, to have the prince pay them back for great plundering and for their father's death. The budling forked over no compensations, nor let the kinsmen get a weregild instead. He said they should expect a great storm of grey spears and Woden's wrath. The herding went to a battle, the one which lay at Logafell. Frodo's frith was rent between fiends. Vidrir's scavenging wolves roamed across the isle. The leader settled himself under the Aristane, after he had slain Elf and Eolf, Hereward and Howard, Hunding's sons. He forfared the Gar-Mimir's whole family line. Then lights flashed from Logafell, and from those lights came a sheet of light. Helmeted women high up over Heavenwong. Their byrnies were sprinkled with blood, and beams shot from their spears. As soon as he left the wolf's lair, the Dayling asked the southern queens if they would go home with the Segs that very night. The elm bow thrummed. Hagen's daughter stepped down from her horse. The clatter of shields had passed. The leader said, "Methinks we might have other things to do besides drinking beer with ringbreakers. My father has pledged his daughter to Granmar's grim son, but I, Helgi, have said that Huthbrod the shameless king is a son of a cat. Yet the king comes in a few nights, unless thou showest him to battle, or take the maiden from the Milding." Quoth Helgi, "Fear thou not, Isung's bane. The bully's din will soon stop, unless I be dead." The Overwald sent messengers thence, over land and across water, to call a leet, to offer Ogun's overabundant light to men and their sons. Quoth Helgi, "Get ye swiftly to the ships, and get ready to leave Branday." From there the Thengel waited, until many hundreds men came to the Thing from Hadensay. And there, from the shores of Staffan's Ness, gold-bound boats scurried out with hosts. Helgi asked Herleif then, "Hast thou sized up this shameless man?" But the one young king said to the other that it were slow going to tally up the long-headed ships under sails that fared from Tronuair out into Arrow Sound.
1,200 trusty men, though in Hightown are even more of the king's lads by half. We can expect a fight."
So the steersman drew the prow tents back so that the multitude of Mildings awoke, and the Daylings saw the dawn, and the Suchlings hoisted the woven stitches up the masts at Varen's fjord. The oars roaring and irons rattling started up. Shield struck against shield, the Vikings rowed. Dashing waves went under the Athelings, the royal fleet far off from land. So it sounded when Kolga's sister came together with the long keels, like brine breaking against cliffs. Helgi bade them draw the high sails yet higher. The billows would not keep them from reaching a haven. even as Aegir's awful daughter wanted to sink their stay-steered steeds. But Sigrun's self came to them from above. The Folkderf saved them in their bark. She wrenched them forcefully from Ran's hand and got the king's longships to Gnipalund. That evening they sat in wind's waws while fair-bound skiffs floated by, and from their lookout on Svaren's howe they sized up the host with worried hearts. Goodly-born Godmund asked then, "Who is the land-reeker that steers this force and brings this huge host toward land?" Quoth Fitela, as he slung a red shield with a golden rim up onto the sail-yard. He was a watchman who could answer and swap words with the atheling.
"Say thou this evening, as thou feedest the swine, and leadest thy dogs to the swill, that Wilfings are come from the east, eager for battle before Gnipalund. There Huthbrod will find Helgi, the unflinching warrior, in the fleet's midst, the one who has often sated the eagles, whilst thou kissest bondswomen by the querns."
Quoth Godmund, "Thou mindest few of the old stories, king, that thou falsely bespeakest athelings. Thou hast eaten wolves' sowls and become thy brother's bane, hast sucked sores with a cold mouth and lurked loathsomely in caves." Quoth Fitela,
"Thou wert a Volva in Varensay, a wily woman, thou craftedest crock. Thou saidst thou would be with no man, no Birnid seg, but Fitela. Thou wert, scathful one, a monster Valkyrie, odious and unsightly to the Allfather. The Einherjar would all brawl, woman, for any sake but thine. We two begot 9 wolves at Saga's Ness, and I was the father."
Quoth Godmund, "Thou, though older than all I can remember, wert not a father to fen wolves, since thirst maidens gelded thee at Thunor's Ness before Gnipalund. Thou wert Siggeir's stepson, lying at home beneath the rafters, accustomed to wolf songs out in the woods. All ills came to befall thee when thy brother's chests were reft open. Thou madest thyself famous for wicked works." Quoth Fitela,
"Thou wert Grani's mate at Brawwold's, gold-bidded and raring to go. I have ridden thy mother many a race, downward wench, thirsty under the saddle."
Quoth Godmund, "Thou wert thought to be an uncultured swain when thou milkedest Gulnir's goats, and another time thou wert Imth's daughter, a rag woman. Wantest thou a longer list?" Quoth Fitela,
"I would rather sate the ravens with thy corpse at Frekastane, and lead thy dogs to the swill, or feed the hogs. May the fiends deal with thee."
Quoth Helgi, "Fitela, it would be much seemlier for you both to wage war and gladden the eagles than to weave windless words back and forth, even as ring-breakers are dealing out curses. Granmar's sons seem no good to me, yet it behooves suchlings to speak sooth. They have marked out Moinsheim, there with a mind to brandish swords. They made Sviputh and Svegiuth to run from the realm towards Sunheim, across dewy dales and dark slopes. Mist's mere shook wherever the lads fared. They met the Drighton at the town gate. They told the chief they would come down like a rapids. Huthbrod stood outside, helmet hoodin. He had a hunch who the horse-riding brothers must be."
"Why such a worried look on these Sneefalungs?"
Quoth Godmund, "Snow-worthy keels turned toward these here sands, long sail-yards slung from the rakies, many shields and shaven oars, glad Wilfings, a noble Gilvish force. 15 war-bands go up onto land, 7,000 are still out in Sogn. Gold-bound blue-black brine beasts lay in wait in the docks before Gnipalund. By far the greatest number of them are there. Helgi will not put off the fight now." Quoth Huthbrod,
"Run the bidded steeds to the rain thing, and Sporvitnir to Sparen's Heath, Melnir and Milnir to Mirkwood. Let no man stay behind who can wield a weapon. Summon ye Hagen and Hring's sons, Attila and Eng, and Elf the Old. They are eager to wage war. Let the Wylsings get some pushback from us."
It was one swoop when pale spear points came together at Frekastane. Helgi Hundingsbane was always foremost in the fray wherever men fought. Lief to fight and loath to flee, that prince had a hard heart. Then came down from heaven the helm-white ones who protected their princes. The spear's din waxed. Then said the wound-wise Sigrun in her flight, as Hugin ate choice cuts in the boughs, "Hail shalt thou, leader, enjoy society and cherish life, scion of Ing. Now thou hast felled the flea-loath prince and stemmed the tide of death. The red gold rings and the mighty maiden both beseem thee well, Budling. Hail shalt thou, Budling, enjoy both Hagen's daughter and Ringstead, both victory and lands. The battle is ended.